Congrats. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul. I see you. All right, Travis. Finish on. Coach Carl.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 264, the Christmas edition of the Today's Leader podcast. What a year it's been. What a year it's been. I bet you that there was no one back in January 2020 quite foreseeing the year that has ultimately happened. It has been a tumultuous year with the pandemic, with lockdowns, with isolations, with economic ruin, with governments wanting to be our saviour, people wanting to keep us all safe. There's new regulations, there's new complexities in and around being a leader. So it's been quite a challenging year, and it's also been a challenging year, I guess, for the podcast, for the Today's Leader podcast. We changed our name. We went from the Coach Curl podcast to the Today's Leader podcast. And we made our focus really clear and specific. Our focus is on the entrepreneurs and leaders of today that are making themselves better to lead into the future. So it's been a year. Now, I know that there are many people that are sitting back and thinking about the goals that they set come December last year or January this year, that may or may not have achieved them. And, you know, after the year we had, success for us and for me and for you is different to what it may have been in previous years. Success is that we've come through this. We've come through 2020. We still have a number of challenges that lay ahead in 2021. But at this stage, 2020 is drawing to a close. And the fact that we're still here, the fact that we're still standing, the fact that we're still striving to be better leaders, striving to be better people, is success in itself. Now, every Christmas presents an opportunity. It is always an opportunity to spend time with our loved ones, with our families, our friends. We get to share in that concept of joy, that joy of giving, that joy of seeing smiles on our loved ones' faces when we've given them a thoughtful gift, when we've given them a thoughtful present, or in some cases just by being there. The joy of giving at Christmas time is something that replenishes us. It replenishes our soul, it replenishes us, and enables us to actually take some time to refresh. So Christmas is an awesome time for us to be reflecting and refreshing for what lies ahead. It provides an opportunity to recharge, rest, and then obviously to reset as we start to look at facing what 2021. And this Christmas is a little bit different to most Christmases. There are going to be some people out there, unfortunately, that won't be able to be with their loved ones, whether that's through health issues that may have happened with some loved ones. I think this year more than any, we felt death. We felt people's passing more than what we have in previous years. But also just the fact that there are going to be some people in lockdown and isolation over Christmas presents a Christmas challenge that's one that we haven't seen, not in my living memory, ever. So if you've got the chance to be with loved ones, that's awesome. Be very grateful. Be full of gratitude. Enjoy the day. But not just the day. Enjoy the season. Enjoy the season that is Christmas with the people that you love. And for those in lockdown or isolation over Christmas, make the most of technology and connect with those as best you can with those that are close to you. Utilize the technology, get on FaceTime, Zoom, whatever your poison is for technology, and try and create that connection as strongly as you possibly can. But one of my big Christmas messages this year, and it's not just mine, I think it's everyone's, to be honest. We've all had an absolutely challenging year. And it's time to be kind, not only to ourselves, but to others. It's time to actively listen. It's time to be tolerant. It's time to be respectful. All of those things that we seem to be at times missing in the world, now is a really good time to share that in a message. Take time to listen to someone that's got a differing viewpoint, a different opinion, a different belief. Ask them the reasons behind that and try and deeply understand what it's all about. But be kind to yourself, be kind to others. You know, one of my mentors is a guy called John Maxwell, and he just happens to be the #1 leadership expert in the world. He's written like a zillion books, seriously, about leadership. He's prolific in his writing and his research in and around leadership. And he shares his Christmas story, and I share it quite often. I think just about every Christmas show I've ever done on this podcast, I've shared the John Maxwell Christmas story. Because John's got a very particular custom that he does at Christmas. Now, of course, he goes and spends time with the family. He partakes in that Christmas giving, gift giving situation. He sees and shares in the joy that is all around him, the love that's all around him. But later on that afternoon, he takes some time to himself. He goes into his office and he shares, by writing on paper, the good things that happened to him that year, the places that they've been, the joy that they've had, the friends that they've met, all of that. He goes through and details that. Some of that joy, some of those learnings that he'll also detail. Now, this year for John might be a little bit different. He probably hasn't travelled anywhere near as much as what he does during a normal year due to the pandemic. But it would still be something that he does. And then he enjoys dinner with his wife at a later time where they go through some of the joy and the happiness that they had during the course of the year. And I think that that's such an amazing exercise to do, because often we enjoy company of people at certain times of the year, but then we don't go back and refresh those memories. But one of the key things that John then does is that he almost, it's like he relives the year in that joy of giving with his wife and his close friends and family. But then it's like he packs it in a suitcase and puts it away and then starts to refocus back on, well, what's going to happen in the new year? What are some of those activities that maybe they're going to go back and redo? But also, what are the ones that they're not going to do? And maybe what are the new ones that they want to experience? So they go through that process. And to me, it's such an amazing process. Reflection is so important for the ability for you to continue to grow. For you as a leader to continue to grow, reflection is paramount. And it's something that I continually talk about, not just in the Today's Leader podcast, but when I'm working with clients, when I'm working with businesses and organizations. One of the keys that we've got to have is this reflection with insight, and to be able to take the learnings that we get from that reflection and put it into plans for action. So I hope that this Christmas sees you well. I hope that this Christmas sees you in a positive state, filled with hope and optimism for 2021, because once we've done that reflection, it's time to start looking at the plans that we have for 2021. And really, we are still in so much control over what we can do and how we respond and how we react to situations that are going to continue to happen. It was interesting. I saw an interview with Eric Bana. I listened to an interview with Eric Bana on the ABC here in Australia. And one of the things that Eric talked about was during lockdown, he was actually quite surprised at how non-creative he was. He expected or believed or hoped that during lockdown he could have been working on, and he mentioned a script that he was working on, a film script that he was working on, and he was quite surprised in hindsight and in reflection that he wasn't as creative or as productive as what he should have or thought he was going to be. And this is a common thread that we've seen throughout 2020, is that even though we've had that opportunity to be creative, to write, like I had 2 books that I wanted to write, and I've ended up at the end of 2020 with 2 half books. So not a great place to be, unfortunately. So even though we've had what I would suggest plenty of time, our thoughts and our distractions have been elsewhere. And the ability for us and the need for us to be kind to ourselves during some of that has been paramount. But it's now time to set some plans for 2021, and it's now time to become really conscious. We've had 2020. 2020 is like the year that we had to have in some respects. But really now is the time for us to be thinking about what is it that I need for my growth, and what is it that I need for my growth in my career, or what do I need now to grow my business? Because ultimately, while things are going to happen around us and external to us that we have no control over, we still have control around what we do and how we respond. And one of the best things that I know is that during the Today's Leader podcast, we've shifted. We've had some great leadership guests. Every leadership guest that I have, I ask them a very simple question about books that have made an absolutely positive impact on them in their leadership career. And we've had some great suggestions. And if you go and have a look at todaysleader.com.au and click on the expert series, you'll see all of those expert series interviews on one page. It's and each and every one of them, I've provided links back to the books that they have encouraged you to read. Now, each of those books is an Amazon affiliate link, and it does help support the podcast. So please, if you are interested in a book, I'd be ever so grateful for you if you could click on that link, and it helps keep the podcast ticking along. And because I know, based on the feedback that we get, that the podcast adds value to people. So we want to keep doing that. But as with everything in life, we need funds to continue that process. Anyway, the top 5 books that, well, I won't even say they're the top 5 books. They're 5 books that I really resonated with or piqued my interest in. So, so I'm just going to go through 5 of them. But as I said, each and every episode that I've had, there's links back to those books that have been recommended by the leadership experts. Now, the first book was actually recommended by 2 people, Belinda Jane Dolan on episode 263 and Kristen Shivago on episode 261. And it's the guy who founded Zappos, Tony Say, I think you pronounce his name, Tony Say. And he wrote a book called Delivering Happiness, A Path to Profits, Passion and Purpose. And it's really interesting because when you think about Belinda Jane Dolan, she's instigated the Chief Happiness Officer's program with her company Clarity Group, and we've got Kristen Shivago, who really focuses around customer mindset. So both of those people recommended that book, Delivering Happiness, A Path to Profits, Passion and Purpose. So if you are in a business that's struggling to find that link to purpose and passion and believe that along the way, so many people I know get caught up with this concept, I've got a purpose to add value, and they go out and they add value, but the value is not valued because of the fact that they're giving it away potentially. So please, if you are a purpose-based business and you find yourself really struggling to make that into a commercial entity or to at least provide you a living, which is the very least that we should be doing when we're in business, go in and check out Delivering Happiness, A Path to Profits, Passion and Purpose by Tony Say, the man behind Zappos. So book number 2, one that really, really piqued my interest, and it's one that's now on my Amazon wish list, is When the Air Hits Your Brain. And this is Tales from Neurosurgery. Once again, it was recommended, I believe, by Belinda Jane Dolan in episode 263. And it's actually Tales from Neurosurgery. And it was written by a gentleman Frank Verdesic Jr., MD, and he describes some of the greatest challenges of his career, including a 6-week-old infant with a tumour in her brain, a young man struck down in the prime by paraplegia, and a minister with a .22 caliber bullet lodged in his skull. So when the air hits your brain, I'm fascinated by this book, and as I said, it is on my wish list. I've got my Christmas reading list, so unfortunately, I've already got about 6 books on that list, but it's one that I'm absolutely intrigued. But once again, when the air hits your brain, Tales from Neurosurgery, it sounds fascinating, and it's one that was highly recommended by Belinda Jane Dolan. And it's not your run-of-the-mill leadership book. So if you really wanted to get maybe a fresh or a new perspective on something, that may be the book that you need to read. So book number 3, it's one that I'm reading right now. It's called Conversational Intelligence by Judith Glaser. Judith unfortunately passed away, but her legacy is being upheld by so many people. Just go on and do a search for Judith Glaser, Conversational Intelligence, and you'll see so many people around the world embracing the concepts from this book. I'm currently reading it, and in 2021 I will do a review of the book. It's so far it's easy to read and easy to implement. And once again, this was Jen Thornton was the leader that recommended this book for episode 249 of the Today's Leader podcast. Another one on my wish list from Robert Bo Brabo. He was a fascinating guest back in 253. He went from military to the White House to the boardroom, and that's the title of his book, From the Battlefield to the White House to the Boardroom, Leading Organizations to Values-Based Results. A lot of people speak about values-based results, and my conversation with Robert clearly indicated that he leads that particular way, but with value and from a core values base. So I'm really excited. Once again, it's on my wish list. Robert Bo Brabo, From the Battlefield to the White House to the Boardroom. Fascinating discussion. One of the, I've loved every single one of my discussions, but it's not every day you get to speak with a leader who led large teams in the White House. And this is what we actually did with Bo Brabo. So please check that one out if that's got any sort of inkling of that you're a values-based leader. That is definitely one that come highly recommended. And book number 5 is one that, once again, I've read now. It's fascinating. And once again, this conversation I had with Ryan Gottfredson back in episode 196, Success Mindsets, Your Keys to Unlocking Greater Success in Your Life, Your Work, and Your Leadership. And one of the very interesting initial things that I had was that Ryan talks about mindsets as in a plural. And up until that particular discussion, I'd always considered mindset as being one whole mindset. But the way that Ryan describes the 4 different areas of mindsets is just fascinating. And once again, Ryan's he's an academic, but he's written this book in such a way that is really unique. And it really does hit the spot. It resonates with you. So please, if you want to understand yourself a little bit more, that one comes highly recommended. Success Mindsets, Your Keys to Unlocking Greater Success in Your Life, Work, and Leadership. And once again, links to all of these are at the todaysleader.com.au. And once again, by clicking on those links, you are actually supporting the podcast. So I would, of course, encourage you to be doing that. So please, if you are looking for books with impact, if you are looking to grow your library list for growth, if you are looking to develop yourself as a leader, please take the time to check out all of those books that have been recommended by our leaders that we've interviewed, because it's a really great place to get an understanding of what worked for them. And, at the end of the day, all of those are exceptional leaders. So please take that time. So this brings our Christmas show to a close. Wherever you are in this wonderful world of ours, I hope you have a magical day. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas season and that you are looking forward to 2021 with optimism and hope. Don't forget to tune in to our New Year's Eve show. And together we're going to help set up for the year ahead. From me to you, have yourself a very Merry Christmas.